I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Dr. Bones, listening to Dr. Bones.
Good afternoon, this is Dr. Bones Live, and it's Saturday, so that means it's time for another episode of...
And now it's time for another episode of Blogger's Corner with Britt.
Blogger's Corner. Welcome, Britt, back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So, now, Britt, since we talked about it a little bit before we came on, like we always do, we're going to start off with Arrow, and I am caught up, and I have more than a few cents to put in, because I know last week, not the last week's episode, but the one before that, you didn't get a chance to watch all of it, and I watched it actually later on that day. And I don't know. I mean, they're excuse me, they're kind of slowly but surely losing my interest, because obviously, you know, Roy freaks out, and what's her name, Sarah says like don't move or I'll kill you, and then Slade's back in it again, and just she finds out that about Malcolm being her father, and it just like a lot of different plot lines. I mean, it wasn't hard to follow, but it just, it's one of those things. I think it was too much at once for everything, because they didn't really tie necessarily one into the other.
Right.
And I'm not sure what you thought about that episode, but
Yeah, it kind of lost me a little bit here and there, and I felt it was a bit just kind of stagnant. I just didn't feel like a lot of it. It was very disjointed, like you pointed out.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're kind of losing me, and I mean, like, they'll figure out what you're gonna do with Roy, you know, and the fact that, you know, they think they're gonna be able to find a cure for the Mirakuru and all this other stuff, and it's almost starting to kind of get, no, not to be a little much, but just too much thought and too many different thoughts in one place. Because this past episode, I mean, you know, that the fact that, you know, like, Roy's pretty much completely taken over with Mirakuru, so he's freaking out, and, you know, and then they try to stop him, and, you know, like, Oliver gets his leg snapped, and, like, it just, there are like too many things, you know, and of course, Moira's ahead in the polls for being mayor of the city, and, you know, Thea's still mad at them because they lied to her, and it's like, and what's his name? Roy's friend comes back, and she's back in scene again. So I'm not sure what part they intend for her to, well, what role they're going to intend for her to have, but it looks like she'll be around at least for a few more episodes. And just at the very end, like, you know, when he's like, listen to my voice, listen to my voice, and not too long before that, he was tripping out, and now she was saying to kill her. so it just, I don't know. I wasn't very happy with the episode. I think they could have done a lot better, especially at the very end when Slade's like, choose, and the whole thing over again, which we've heard 5 million times already. You know, I didn't have a choice, and blah blah, it was my fault, and no, you should chose Shadow, blah blah, over Sarah. You chose Shadow over another woman, and I was like, oh my god. And then, of course, he makes her choose, and I guess that was their way of putting like a good, like, kind of dun dun dun, you know, at the end of the show, when Slade killed Moira, or so we think, because who knows, the TV show, she might be alive and well, or at least in recovery. So yeah, it was kind of predictable, but I just wasn't that impressed with it.
I really struggle. I thought that the last episode it meandered in the flashbacks yet again. Obviously there were quite a few big reveals in the episode. That Oliver has a love child.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that useless piece of information.
So I don't really see a 6 or 7 year old fitting into the whole mythology of the show. So I don't really know why this was even brought up, or except to emphasize the bond, or that Mora would go to any lengths to protect Oliver. And I think the big death, it just reminded me so much about what happened when they killed off Tommy last season. What is the point? Yeah, it was good for shock value. I was reading a lot of comments on Twitter, and I read an interview with Andrew Kreisberg, who's the showrunner over at Arrow. He did an interview with Entertainment Weekly, which is very illuminating, just to kind of understand where they're at in their mindset creatively.
Right.
But it felt like it was just a stunt death. It was, for me, I was a little bit surprised, because I really love the actress, Susanna Thompson. I thought she was bringing a lot of gravitas to the show, and then they kill her, and I just, as far as, furthering Oliver's journey, that was supposed to be what happened when Tommy was killed, so it just feels like the wash, rinse, repeat of that story.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So I just like I said, I wasn't that impressed. So, and like, who knows, like even though it pretty much looks like she's dead, who knows what they have planned? They could have her in recovery next episode.
Well, they did say, when I read the article, spoiler alert, for anyone who doesn't want to know, that he did say that they were going to open with her funeral.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, so I think she is apparently gone. I think a big mistake. I think anytime that, I once heard a writer say, and I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was, but they once said, then you decide to kill off a character, you have to think, do they do more story dead than alive? And I really don't think Mora, the character, is doing more dead than alive. I think there was so much more potential there. Killing off Speedy, okay, fine. She wasn't giving that much story to begin with. So I think it kind of goes back to trying to imitate the Game of Thrones. Has kind of started this phenomenon about killing off characters that people thought were safe. And that works for Game of Thrones, but if everybody gets in on it, it's going to become really predictable and tiring.
Oh, that's exactly right. And I didn't think about that, but you got a really good point with that, because you're right. I mean, and after a while, it just kind of gets annoying. It's like, oh, really? It's like, well, there goes another show. So. I feel you on that. I don't really, don't have the emotional investment in the characters I'll have to really think about if I'm going to carry on watching it next season, because quite frankly, they've really lost me with Oliver. I just think he comes across as a jerk. I'm not rooting for him. I hate the Sarah character. It looked like she left town, but the damage has been done. I don't like having the, threat over the head that she could come back. So don't you feel like Oliver this season became really unlikable? Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that, because he did a lot of quote unquote douchey things, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
go ahead.
All I was gonna say is usually superheroes are not usually people they try to get in the role as people you love to hate. No, they're people you want to like and not dislike them, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. I don't understand why they want us to hate Oliver, because he is the star of the show, and I get the whole self-loathing superhero bit, and that's what Batman did, but the imitations off of the Batman trilogy at this point are letting viewers kind of know where everything's going to end up, because they are, kind of following it a lot, very closely.
Well, that's right, and that's the best way to do it. Just a brief little thing on Batman, actually. I was thinking about this the other day, so I looked up the video for it, and it's a really good video. This is an old song, but it was from the Batman Forever soundtrack, and it was the U2 song "Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me." Really good tune, and the video is awesome because it's all in kind of like a dark cartoon. So they show all of them in the cartoon drawings, and they show the Joker he looks a lot more like evil and scary and that sort of thing. So. It's just a really good tune, and I hadn't heard it in a long, long time, and I looked it up. It's like, I forgot how good the song was and how good this video is. I mean, it's definitely worth looking. Even if you don't like U2, the video is really good.
I'll have to check that out. I don't think I've ever seen that.
So it's on Vimeo.
Nice.
So if you YouTube it, I tried YouTubing it and it didn't come up, so I didn't think of Vimeo. I just went to Google and pulled it right up on Vimeo. I was like, oh, perfect. So yeah, that's where you're going to find it. You're going to find it on Vimeo. It won't come up right up on YouTube. If it does, you're lucky. But I would head to Vimeo and go straight to the source.
Okay, good tip.
So yeah, so I did, like I said, I know it's a bit of a random thought, but I was thinking about that actually yesterday, and like on my break at work, it's like when I looked up the video, I was like, awesome. I forgot about I remember the video, but not as vividly as I thought I did. But once I saw it again, it's like, wow, okay, remember this part. This is really cool. I forgot about this, you know. So it was one of those things that kind of nice twist on the day. So.
Yeah, I'll have to check out the video. The movie for me was very underwhelming, so maybe that was a redeemable aspect of it.
More or less, yeah, because, I mean, let's face it, although Jim Carrey was the Riddler and Tommy Lee Jones was Two-Face, like, it was alright, but they could have done a lot more. They're still kind of playing, we'll call it more the cartoon aspect / comic book aspect, as opposed to, like, not necessarily real life, but like more dark, like the last few ones were.
Yeah, more, and I think that's the thing about Nolan's Batman was he was trying to get away from the campiness and the cartoony aspects of it and try to do something straight up and have a drama. So, and I get what Arrow's trying to do some other thing, but it gets a point. I really liked the last Batman movie, and the reason I really liked that one was because it felt like they were infusing more humor. And Arrow is so serious that it's just depressing. And I think anyone who enjoys superhero movies wants to escape and see something extraordinary. And I just don't feel good. I don't feel uplifted or charged after I'm done seeing an episode of Arrow.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, like I said, I watched it a few hours ago, and I was like, well, this really isn't that impressive. I mean, I'm kind of getting a little bored with it, but so yeah, it's just one of those things. So they got a. Like we said, not necessarily real life, but just more like we'll call it real as opposed to a cartoon, you know? Because I mean, or a comic book strip. Because that's what. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying I agree.
So okay, well that will do it for Arrow, and just a few rock notes. There's not 10 this week, but the 20th, which was last week, was Record Store Day, and there were well. Now, forgive the pun, but record sales. So there was for the top vinyl LPs, there was the ones that sold very well were Childish Gambino, Afghan Wigs, Notorious B.I.G., Bruce Springsteen, Jimi Hendrix, Grateful Dead, Tame Impala, Joy Division, Flaming Lips, and Ramones. And then the other one was the top vinyl singles, and Nirvana was at the top of the list. Below them was Flaming Lips, The Cure, and Dinosaur Jr. It's a collaboration called Just Like Heaven. David Bowie, Eleven Rush, Frank Zappa, Pantera, and Poison Idea. Another collaboration, and the song's called The Badge, which was on the Crow soundtrack, the original Crow soundtrack. Paramore, Fleetwood Mac, and Garbage, which is like really cool to see, because obviously a lot of those records actually do have, and I actually literally have the vinyls of them. So
nice.
I like the CDs, but I like my vinyls too. And I think I did talk briefly about this last week when I was looking, because I didn't really find anything that I really wanted or didn't have already. And the few that I did want were just a little bit more than I want to pay. So I was thinking maybe I'll try to find them on eBay or something. But because one of the ones I don't have on vinyl that I would love to have is the Nine Inch Nails album from '98 called The Fragile. It's like probably my favorite Nine Inch Nails album, and I love to have it on vinyl because apparently there's a little bit more, kind of a few extras on it, because it was initially I think it was made for import. It wasn't made for sale in the U.S. North America, but it is now. So I would love to get my hands on that. But right now the prices are just a little bit more than I want to pay. But it was
hello eBay.
Yeah, I know, eh? So it was cool though, like seeing some of the CDs that they had for sale, and again, pretty much I had all of them, but just the price difference and thinking like when I initially bought them, how much I paid for them. And like I said, I think I mentioned this last week, was the Smashing Pumpkins album, the double album called The Infinite Sadness and Melancholy, and that was about 15 years ago. So when I initially bought that, it cost me, I think it was like $27 Canadian. And now, about 15 years later, it's on the rack for $10.
Wow.
So, I mean, obviously I can predict that, and at the time didn't care because I wanted the album. so it wouldn't have made a difference. But it was one of those CDs that you had to save a little bit for, because usually you're paying between $12 to $17 depending on the CD and band. A lot of times the best time to get it was when they were brand new, just because they were a lot cheaper. And one thing I actually did quite a bit is when I lived in Michigan, since Myers is 24 hours, and Myers is just like a gigantic Walmart, and it's open 24 hours, so a lot of times when there's new CDs, I would, if I wasn't working, mind you, like I'd stay up or take a nap, and then at midnight I'd go and pick up the CD.
Cool.
So it was always a lot of fun, because I'd go for it if it wasn't there, like, do you guys have the new whatever it was? Like, oh yeah, it's in the box here, just bring it. I was like, awesome, yoink. So, and of course, at that time, they still had the CD player in the I had a truck at the time, so I popped it right in the way home. So, yeah, I was like, when I found out that could be done, because I didn't realize, because even though they say midnight, the stores don't always bring them out at midnight, even though they open 24 hours. They'll put them on later, like kind of earlier in the morning, sort of thing. So,
interesting.
Oh, I mean, at least, because there was a few times I had to ask, and they're like, "Oh, we haven't brought them out yet, but we can." It's like, perfect, thank you. And I was like, hold on a second. He hands me the CD. He's like, oh, hold on a second. Just put the price on it. There you go. I was like, awesome. And like so excited, like a kid in a candy store. So
yeah, fresh out of the box.
So yeah, I was excited, because I did that about 3 or 4 times. I think one was Stone Temple Pilots album, one was I think System of a Down, and there's one more I can't think off the top of my head, but I know I did at least 2 to 3. So when I was there, anyways, so yeah, just other than that, there's not a lot in rock and roll news this week. I mean, it's kind of a slow week. One thing that was an interesting article is a band from the early 90s, the Pixies, who were big influence on bands like Nirvana and that sort of thing. And their old bassist and vocalist Kim Deal left to be with another band she'd started on the side called The Breeders, which is kind of sad, because Kim Deal not only was she a good musician, but she had a good voice too, and complimented Frank Black, who's the lead singer of the Pixies. So they're talking about, they're like, yeah, it's a little different, but obviously he goes, life's got to go on, you got to move and got to switch a few things up. But so I'm glad I got a chance to see them before she left, because it wouldn't be the same, we'll put it that way.
Definitely.
And the other, not too much, except for the record store day. A couple, I'll call it uninteresting ones, but I just thought I'd mention them anyways. Apparently there's new Guns N' Roses music set to arrive next year, their guitarist says, and you know what? That's not even worth posting on Rolling Stone at all, because I mean, nobody really cares about Guns N' Roses anymore. I mean, ever since they split completely, meaning like Slash and all those guys left, like they were no longer Guns N' Roses. The name may stay the same, but just because Axl's still there doesn't mean Guns N' Roses is there. He's just, yeah, I'm not a big fan of his. So, and the other thing is, I'm not sure why they put it this way, and obviously it's relating to baseball, but they said Metallica are in the 4th inning of their new album. Great. Their Metallica album. Yeah, I'm excited.
I can tell.
And yeah, so it's like, oh, really? Like, I mean, I know obviously they still have fans, but I think they're dwindling, because I mean, I know most old, we'll call them old hardcore fans, pretty much they tried to give the new album because it was such a big deal. Oh, look, Metallica's cut their hair. No. I was like, well, good for them. They're getting older. They probably should cut their hair. so and it's a whole new look and blah, blah, blah. And then this album Load comes out, and I know like some people try to give it a chance, including myself, but it's like I can't do this. I mean, they've gone almost too simplistic, from like heavier and more like in depth like musicianship, because they are all talented. I mean, as much as I think their drummer Lars Ulrich is a big douche, he's a good drummer, and that's can't be argued. So that fact can't be argued, and. But, from his, like, amazing drumming, it's kind of look like he's slowed down a little bit. And you can understand with the bass, you should probably slow down a little bit. But slow down, and not to the point where I mean, he's kind of crawling along. It's more like, he's still capable of much more, and it's almost like he's being lazy in my eyes. And
Yeah.
the rest of them, the same thing. I mean, Kirk Hammett is a phenomenal guitarist, and even he's gotten lazy with some of the stuff. I mean, I can think of like 3 songs that, like, I mean, they're probably the quickest Metallica songs I ever learned how to play, because they're simple. They weren't that in depth, They were. I mean, the other songs were the ones that I did learn how to play were more than a challenge. I mean, it took a while because there's a lot of stuff to it. I mean, but these ones are just like, man, like you guys have just gotten lazy.
Now, do you think a lot of that has to come with being older and maybe arthritis of the hands, or just trying something different?
No, I think it comes down to trying something different. Just because there are a lot of bands that despite their age are still going strong and still playing like they used to. I mean, that hasn't changed. And so I don't think age is an issue in this case, because there are a lot of bands that are aging and they change their style a bit. Obviously, your music style or likes does change a little bit with time, but in the same instance, I think in their case they just got lazy. And I mean, if this direction they decide to go in, it's obviously still working for them, so like good for them. But I'm not a fan of it. They know they've lost quite a number of fans, and then they tried to bring it back with an album called Saint Anger, which is pretty much too little, too late. And at least in my eyes, I mean, it was just like it was an attempt. It seemed like an attempt to bring back the old school Metallica, but with like a newer sound on it. And it's like, oh, like really, like you might as well stuck with the cheesy stuff you were doing before, I mean, yeah. So I mean, but I mean, obviously, like I've said many times, not a big fan of Metallica now. Back then, like I said, anything before the Black Album, so and Justice for All, and behind that, huge fan, and I still respect them a lot for the. Excuse me, I still respect them a lot for those albums. I've lost a little respect. Go ahead.
Well, is there a way, if they did something very similar to that, is it just because it's a momentum issue? If they did an album like they did before, would you listen?
I don't know. I think I would at least try to listen to one song. I mean, I wouldn't totally nix the idea. I mean, so I would give it a chance. But now, I mean, with all the stuff that's gone on, they really lost my interest.
Fair enough.
So, like I said, between Lars Ulrich being a douche and like, they're like, they did that CD with the symphony. Yeah, it could be cool for a song or two, but the entire thing is like, but again, it did very well. So I mean, who am I to say? But that's just my personal opinion on that. So, but that's pretty much wraps up the rock and roll news. But yeah. I'm not gonna say more because I could go on about this forever, and I'm not going to because we've had lots to talk about, and I don't want to bore anybody with the details. So
no, it's fine. I enjoy hearing about it.
But yeah, so I mean, and that's why like I am very, very picky to what I listen to and to what I'll play. I mean, sometimes I will put stuff on, like, and I'll give it a chance. Like sometimes, so 2 or 3 listens, the song or the album grows on you. Sometimes it doesn't, but you want to give it a shot anyways. But even after that, I mean, if I'm really not that into it, chances are it probably won't play it again. No, I just want to give them a chance, give people a fighting chance. But just in general, I'm picky what I listen to, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with like lyrics or anything like that. It more has to do with how the band functions together. No, not just on an album, but live as well, because the album you don't see what's going on, and obviously some people talk about the Toy Stories but there's still, you don't see or see anything. All you hear is the end result, and so since there's a lot of technology, things can be altered and fixed, that sort of thing. And obviously most of the time that stuff's not mentioned on the album unless it's like they think it's like really important. So seeing them live and even seeing them being interviewed says a lot for them, right? Because they want to come off as likable to fans. And the same thing when they play live. No, they want to play a good show. So people are talking afterwards about how good it was as opposed to how bad it was.
Ooh, that's not a good place to be in.
So, and I can honestly say I can't really think of a concert that I left going like, well, this was absolutely horrible. I can think of some of the opening acts that were that probably shouldn't have been up there or got boring really quickly, but for the mainliners, I can't recall a time where I was absolutely disappointed.
Yeah, sometimes those opening acts can surprise you. Have you heard of Skillet?
I've heard of, but have not heard the music.
Yeah, they're really good. I saw them live, and it was a really good show, and it was actually more impressive to me personally than the person that the main act that we come to see. But yeah, I totally hear what you're saying. Something you were talking about with Lars Ulrich in terms of his drum speed. Let's say somebody, I'm not saying this happened to him. Let's say somebody has deteriorated with age, and they're not the drummer they used to be, but they still have recordings of the drummer they were. Do you have a problem with mixing that into a synth and then crafting that into a new song?
I think it's kind of a cop-out because if they can't play it now, they're not going to be able to play it live. And people will notice that. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people notice that, saying like, hey, wasn't it just a little bit heavier? Wasn't there more of this in one section? Now there's not.
Well, that is true.
So.
I've noticed a lot where they are bringing the stuff, the synths, everything, and they're playing it live. Like when I saw, I don't want to name names, but I saw some keyboards and stuff they brought out, and they were digitally manipulating it. So it wasn't really live. Some of it had been pre-recorded and pre-mixed.
Well, yeah, not really a big fan of that. I mean, there are some stuff that the bands do in studio that can't be recreated, but it's usually like vocal stuff. But most of the time, they let you know that no, this is what's going on. So, because Radiohead is a prime example. OK Computer, Kid A, and Amnesiac. And when they played live, they were able to play stuff. And because pretty much Tom York, he had pretty much, it altered his voice because no one could do that normally with their voice anyways. But it sounded cool and people knew about that, but it wasn't pre-recorded. No, as he's singing, you can see him kind of running a figure on sort of like an iPad and adjusting it to where he needs it.
Right.
And he also has at his keyboard, he's got like pedals and stuff like that to do that for him too. So, but it's part of the song and that sort of thing. Like, I mean, I like because they're doing an overlay, but the overlay is something that a normal person couldn't do. So, and it can add to it, and it comes down to like just the way it's done because sometimes it can be done very well, but there's sometimes it'll be done very poorly, and it's one of those things. If you're gonna do overlays of that, you have to either be able to recreate it, or for the most part recreate it, or just not. Let's say depending on how many songs on the album are like that, don't play those songs live, or just say no, it's a studio album. It's not necessarily an album we're going to tour with because there's so much on studio. And other bands have done this too, and the fans were told exactly what it was. And another prime example is the Beatles. Their album Sgt. Pepper's, that was a studio album. So,
right.
And so I mean, like I said, if it's just one of those things. I mean, the more you inform the fans of what's going on, the more they're going to appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think anytime for me, I saw Britney Spears live, and there were times where I did, and she was amazing. She's an amazing entertainer. This was actually during the. I think this is the Britney tour. So this was after the Oops, I Did It Again album, but before some things kind of went off, before the Madonna kiss at the VMAs. Anyway, so she was an amazing live performer. It was a amazing concert in terms of that, but I knew that she was doing just some amazing dancing. But I know she wasn't going to be able to sing live. She did sing live eventually, during some of the ballads, but I mean, I knew that she couldn't. You couldn't have it both, and I would have rather seen her dance than maybe seen her sing. But I know some people were really upset because they felt like she should have said up top, this has been pre-recorded. Understand? I would have totally understood that. I wasn't upset about it. I know some people get upset about it, but you kind of have to have a little bit of a compromise sometimes.
Right.
But
No, I understand.
My thing is just you have a great artist artist and something might happen and you want to be able to still hear them, and through technology, it's maybe not what it was or we're accustomed to, but it's a chance for them to kind of have a second life, and I kind of feel like that's important.
No, very true. And there are some bands that tour, and they pretty much the crowd understood, and they're the fans were told about it. But Led Zeppelin, when they did their summer reunion tour, obviously minus John Bonham because he passed away, but when they did those tours, there were some songs flat out that Robert Plant said, well, my voice isn't what it was, so no, I can't sing anymore. So they took the songs they could sing, other than trying to sing the songs that he couldn't hit the vocal range anymore and that sort of thing, and kind of disappoint. This way, the crowd knew what was going on, and they could still do a lot of good tunes, but there were a few that he's like, I can't do it anymore, unfortunately. It sucked, but at the same time too, is at least they admitted, and they're still rocking out despite that fact.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So I mean, and it's like I said, it's one of those things that happen, that happens, and age does take a factor, but only to a certain extent. I mean, because there are some people it's like they never aged. I mean, one band that's still going strong is another prime example is AC/DC. There's a bunch of guys that are got to be in their 50s at least. So and they're still going pretty strong. Still playing lots of concerts, that sort of thing. So it's kind of like the cliche, you're only as old as you feel. Somewhat. I mean, there are obviously other factors involved, but that you can't always control. But for the most part, I mean, that's the way it goes. And I just, like I said, sometimes age does have something to do with it. But in this instance, I don't think it really does. I think they just got lazy. Said, we're Metallica, we can do anything we want now. So.
I hear you.
No, so that's just that's my take on that. Other than that, most of the bands I've seen, actually, just one last thing on this before I forget, and I can't believe I almost forgot this. I saw the band Soundgarden a few times, years ago. I saw them for their album Bad Motorfinger, and I did see them for their album Super Unknown, which was the one album that had Fell on Black Days, Black Hole Sun, all the really kind of popular tunes. And they had there's one song on that album called Head Down, and there's an extra few drum tracks on it, and it says in the album cover itself, it says, Head Down, extra drum tracks, blah blah blah. And what they did was to fill us in the concert. This was badass. This was awesome. I was blown away with this. I thought this was awesome because the extra drum tracks were at the very end of the song. So this is after the guitar and bass have stopped, and just kind of drumming going on for about a minute or so. So what they did, and this was so cool. It's still one of those things. Probably one of the best moments I've seen at a concert is their bassist Ben Shepherd and their guitarist Kim Thale. What they did is they slung their guitar and bass behind their back and grabbed drumsticks and were pretty much stood at the drum set with Matt Cameron filling in the extra drum tracks for the end of the song.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very impressive, and they probably practiced this quite a bit to get it down straight, because even though they probably can't play, Kim Thale and Ben Shepherd aren't natural drummers, they're bass and guitar, so it was pretty cool to see all three of them do that. That was awesome. I'll never forget that.
Very cool. It's always cool to have those moments.
Yeah, that's one moment I'll never ever forget. I mean, it's one of those things, I pretty much remember every single concert I've been to, and a lot of things that I kind of like to hear. I mean, it doesn't always happen, because a lot of times my favorite tunes are tunes they never play live, or just for some reason a lot of people don't like it. I guess to get fewer people that like the song, depending on what it is. But I usually kind of pick the songs that were the less popular ones, or they're kind of popular but still, they weren't one of their highest ranking singles. And when I saw Nirvana play for the second time, and that was for their album In Utero, they opened with the song, I think it's the second to last song on the album, a song called Radio Friendly Unit Shifter. And when they opened with that, I was blown away. I was like, this is awesome. And the other one was actually it was Soundgarden again, and they opened up with a song from their album Bad Motorfinger, and the song was called Jesus Christ Posed. And as we all know, Chris Cornell's got a big vocal range. I mean, even though he's got a deep voice, like he can hit like really high notes. And when they opened up with that, seeing him play and sing at the same time, like I gained a whole new respect for him.
Right.
Just the fact that that he can hit those notes. It's not studio. No, it is him, and that's what made it that much more fun for me when seeing they could do that. That the change in pitches in their vocals are actually them and not something that was digitally remastered or adjusted in some form or another.
Yeah, that is very neat, and I enjoy. Sometimes you'll hear someone who I've heard really great vocalists, and I've heard people who it's coming from the heart, and it's may not hit Celine Dion levels of hitting certain pitches, but you're singing with soul, so you kind of get that polish. Someone wants to maybe have all the polish, and then you lose the soul. That's one of the things that bothers me with the whole synth is you're not. First of all, everyone has started to kind of sound the same in mainstream music, and then you take the emotion out of the performance.
Well, exactly. A very, very good point. So that's we'll wrap up that portion of it. But that's another one I could probably go on for a little bit for a while. But those are the main points I wanted to get to was like the Soundgarden Nirvana playing live when they opened up with those songs, and just the fact that Soundgarden did compensate for the extra drum tracks at the end of the song, and like seeing that what just blew my mind. I mean, they're all in sync with what they need to do, so they're all the extra drum tracks that you remember were there. And excuse me, it's actually one of my favorite songs off the album. So hearing that play live was just a huge bonus, and was a bonus. And seeing them do that was just like this is amazing. I'm glad you guys did this. This way I'll never forget. People will be talking about this for a while.
Definitely.
So, Britt, your blogs, you're working on the blogs that you've done this past week. Let's get into those.
Okay, well, this week I reviewed the FX has done a television adaptation that is not a sequel, but it's Fargo, the movie, as a TV show.
I saw that, but I haven't watched it.
Okay, it is a really good show. I was really surprised because I'm not a huge fan of the movie. I'm just going to say that. I know it's horrible. It's a classic, and Coen brothers are very revered, and it's something against, I know they have their fans, and I have enjoyed some of their movies, but for me, that movie is good, but it's not one of my favorites. So I was kind of nervous about seeing a show, but it seems to be the new fad, taking a well-known movie and turning it into a TV show, and it's turning out really well, like with Bates Motel, and I really did enjoy the show. And enjoying the show. It'll go on for 10 weeks, so it's going to be 10 weeks straight, and basically kind of like with American Horror Story, they're going to have this, this cast and this story will conclude after 10 episodes, and then they will start, if this is successful, they'll start another 10 episodes with a completely different cast and story, but all, under the whole name of Fargo. And I really did enjoy the show. I really like Billy Bob Thornton, and this is his best role in years. He plays a hitman. So it's really fun. And Martin Freeman, who whenever I see his name, I think it's Morgan Freeman. is Martin Freeman, who is in the Hobbit movie, and he's on Sherlock Holmes with Benedict Cumberbatch. He's on the show. He's British. I could not believe how great his Minnesota accent is. It is flawless. It's a really good show. It's quirky and it's a little bit slow. I have to stick with it, but the pilot was on the level of a cinematic presentation. I literally, if you didn't tell me, I would have thought it was a movie. It was that well done. But obviously, that left it open, so you knew it was something was going to continue. But it's a really great show. I'm really enjoying it.
Well, right on, because I did see the previews for it, but I didn't watch it, and I have watched the movie, and I did see your blog, and what was your favorite movie turned into TV show, and I was thinking about it, and I couldn't really think of one that I actually really enjoyed that they went from movie to TV. So the only one that I did like, it was meant to be just like a quick miniseries, was 24, and now that's coming back on.
Yeah, because I never watched the original 24. I don't know if I think I may have tried to watch it once, but my favorite, I think I posted that, and because I was responding to the tweet by, I think it was IndieWire who put that up there. Gotta be Bates Motel. This past week's episode, I'll mention this in the TV the recap of the week that it is just such a flawless show in its own right, but to take from the mythology of Norman Bates and what we know in Psycho is just been tremendous.
Well, right on. That's one show I just like. I haven't really got a chance to sit down and watch. I mean, I know I've heard how good it is. I just one of those things that I've always had so much going on, and there's, I guess, there's some shows I just don't have a chance to get to. Like, I mean, I think I will eventually, but just one of those times where I have to sit down and just pretty much watch season after season. So.
Yeah, it is definitely a show you can binge watch.
Because it's kind of like one of my new favorites. It's in the 6th season already, but it's Nurse Jackie on HBO.
Oh yeah, I've heard good things about that.
It actually is a really good show. I'm actually really liking that. So now I'm just trying to find them online because I was probably like 4th and like 5th season was on while I was in Cuba, so it was something to watch during we'll call it downtime, you know.
Definitely.
So I watched that. I was like, you know what, this is actually a really good show. So that's another one I gotta catch up on. And there's one other blog I did this week. I'm trying to remember what it was that I was going to mention.
Was it about movies or TV?
It was movies.
Let's see. I have to look up. Unfortunately, I didn't get to do a lot this week because I've been under the weather.
Right. No, that's fine. Anyways, I'll kind of on the topic of movies. I finally, I think it was last weekend. I actually did watch This Is the End and This Is 40.
Okay.
You know what? But honestly, I actually liked This Is the End. I thought it was actually pretty funny.
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one I thought it was going to be something, and I'll just admit right off the top that I'm not Seth Rogen's biggest fan. But maybe that had something to do with it. It just, for me, I was expecting kind of a Hollywood satire where they were focusing on the actual hilarity that is the Hollywood situation, the whole atmosphere and the whole culture. But then it evolved into something about the apocalypse, and they lost me.
Well, I mean, I thought it was funny. I think the funniest thing, or one of the funniest things for me was I can't remember his last name, but Michael, what was the guy's name? He was in was it Nora and what was it?
Michael Cera?
Yeah, Michael Cera, like because he's a cokehead, and that was hilarious. Like I thought that really made me laugh, and especially when he smacked Rihanna, and Rihanna just held back and just give him a good one to the face, you know. And I remember telling you about this a while ago, but when they were talking about the movie before it come out, they were saying that Michael Cera said to Rihanna, said, you know what, I'm really going to smack you. She's like, all right, well, I'm really going to smack you too. Like, so, you know, so they did it about 5 times. After 5th time, it's like, all right, we'll lose that one because Michael Cera couldn't take it more. Like, Rihanna was hurting him pretty good.
Yeah, bless his heart. He seems, it was painful because he is, you know, he seems like a sweet guy, but that was funny because it was so shocking. Sometimes when moments shock you, your instinct, or at least my instinct, is to laugh because I'm uncomfortable.
But yeah, it was funny, and that those smacks were both really like Rihanna really did haul back and hit Michael Cera pretty good, and the fact that he was able to kind of get up afterwards and kind of shake it off quickly it's kind of impressive because I know she hit him pretty hard, so.
Yeah, she's a tough cookie.
So yeah, it was fun. And that part made me laugh, and like and then of course Daniel McBride shows up later because he had passed out in some room upstairs, and you know at the very end because they're working for redemption, so they can be taken up, and you know James Franco does his deed, and he starts getting him deed. And the light starts pulling him up, and of course, he starts saying, you know, like, F you, Danny McBride, blah, 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 I did it. And then the beam stops and lets him go.
Yeah, so, that was funny. And of course, we all know that Backstreet Boys will be playing in heaven.
Yeah. See, and you know, as much as I'm not a fan of them at all, that was actually a good twist. That was actually really smart.
Yeah, that was funny, and I do like them because I was a kid. I grew up with them. But what did you? Oh, there's something I was gonna say. Oh, have you seen the movie Your Highness?
Yes. Yeah.
I love that movie.
Yeah, I saw that not too far back, and that was a pretty good one. I mean, because that's the Danny McBride role, you know, kind of he's a douche you love to hate sort of thing.
Yeah, he cracks me up. And then 30 Minutes or Less, that was another great comedy. This for me, just I had so much expectations from seeing those movies that for me, that kind of fell flat. But what did you think of This Is 40?
I thought that was really good. I actually really enjoyed that. I really did
Yeah,
enjoy
I
it.
thought it was funny.
So, we actually got to wrap things up here because we're pretty much out of time. But that'll do it for this week's episode of Bloggers Corner. So be sure to tune in next week for Bloggers Corner again at noon. Britt, like always, it's always a pleasure having you on the show and talking about what your blogs are about and talking about Arrow.
Yes, same here. Thanks for having me.
All right, and so until next time, guys, which will be next Saturday at noon. If that changes, I'll let you know. But until tonight, the New Music Saturday, but it won't be starting until 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So we'll talk to you then. Until then, Bones out. Thanks for listening.